Everyone thinks they know Europe. Some say it's all about luxury and ancient history. Others think the continent is predictable, expensive, and overused. But what if I told you that Europe holds curiosities as insane as the scorching heat of Sicily and the extreme cold of Russia? And that, behind museums and monuments, there is a web of hidden facts that completely change the way you see the continent. This is not a common trip to tourist attractions. Here, you will discover details that even many Europeans are unaware of, and that will make you rethink the way you learn, travel, and even dream. Because when you understand how everything is connected, from tourism to climate, from football to infrastructure, you realize that the true map of Europe is not in the guidebooks, but between the lines. And those who read between the lines come out ahead. If you've always believed that only great experiences come with high costs, get ready to deconstruct that idea. The knowledge you will gain here is fast, curious, provocative, and accessible. And the best part, it will give you something to talk about, a worldview, and even inspiration to get out of automatic mode. Curious to find out all this? If you think Europe is all castles, wine, and ancient history, here's where the surprise begins. There's a hidden rainforest in Bosnia called Perusica, which has survived intact for thousands of years, like a reliquary of time. It's one of those regions where every tree seems to hold ancient secrets and the soil breathes living history. Few people imagine that the green heart of Europe beats so strongly. It's as if nature were whispering, "I'm still here, and I'm wilder than you think." Now, speaking of living history, did you know that Bulgaria holds the title of the country with the oldest name in Europe still in use? Since the year 681, the name has remained practically intact. It's a curiosity that says a lot about identity and resistance. It's like finding someone who has never changed their nickname since childhood, even as time and trends try to push for change. Europe holds these roots with a certain quiet pride, and it's up to those thirsty for knowledge to dig a little deeper. And speaking of depth, the Volga River, which runs through Russia, is the largest river in Europe, with a length of approximately 3,500 kilometers. It is not only large in size, it is a cultural, historical, and economic symbol for millions of people. Want to feel its size? Imagine leaving Sao Paulo and going to Recife, and still not having a road. In addition, the Volga supplies entire cities and serves as a vital transport route, showing that even geography has a social role. And here is a tip for those who like a good curiosity that generates conversation. When visiting Europe, do not just go after the famous tourist spots. How about visiting places like the Białowieża Forest, on the border between Poland and Belarus, where European bison roam freely? Or explore rivers like the Danube, which connects cultures as diverse as Vienna, Budapest, and Belgrade? There is no shortage of natural beauty for those with a curious eye. And speaking of attractions that catch your eye, imagine a city that combines tradition, modernity, and a touch of royalty. Yes, we're talking about London, which in 2019 was the most visited city in all of Europe, and that's no wonder. The British capital is the kind of place where, in a 15-minute walk, you'll see a classic red bus, a futuristic building, and a telephone booth transformed into a museum piece. And yet, everything seems in harmony. It's as if time there has decided to walk hand in hand with the present. But London is not alone in this phase. Of the 10 most visited tourist attractions in the world, 7 are in Europe, including the Colosseum, the Louvre, the Eiffel Tower, and so on. And do you know what this reveals? That the continent has practically become a theme park of historical, cultural, and architectural curiosities. It's like walking through a large interactive book, where every corner has a story ready to be told. And you don't need to be a historian to be enchanted, just keep your eyes wide open. Now, take note, Buckingham Palace, the official residence of the British monarchy, is considered the most expensive property in the world. Valued at over $5 billion, it is not only a symbol of power, but also a reminder of the weight of tradition in European lands. It is interesting to think about how tourism and culture intertwine in places like this. People don't go there just to see marble walls and golden gates, they want to feel the impact of history, the aura of the place. So, if you've ever wondered if it's really worth investing in a cultural trip, remember, experiences are worth more than souvenirs. How about putting together an itinerary that goes beyond the obvious? Instead of visiting just Paris, how about also visiting Lyon, with its incredible cuisine? Or swapping Venice for the less crowded and charming Verona? Europe is a treasure trove of possibilities. And the most curious thing is that, sometimes, the best treasures are hidden behind the quietest attractions. And getting around this continent. Have you ever stopped to think how Europe, despite having so many small countries, manages to be one of the most interconnected places on the planet? This is no coincidence. It's thanks to its cutting-edge infrastructure. Airports like London's Heathrow and Istanbul's operate almost like the great nerve centers of the modern world. Every day, thousands of people cross borders like people taking the subway in a big city. And the most curious thing, on many of these flights, you change countries without even noticing the time difference. Now, although air traffic is impressive, urban transport is a spectacle in itself, especially in Dutch cities. The Netherlands, for example, has more bicycles than inhabitants. And this is not a figure of speech. There are around 23 million bicycles for a population of 17 million. The result? Bicycle traffic jams. It's a scene that seems straight out of a comedy. Horns, bells, impatient cyclists, and all this without using a drop of gasoline. But this preference for cycling says a lot about the European lifestyle. In addition to being healthy and ecological, it is a practical way to get around in well-planned cities. Anyone who visits Amsterdam will soon notice that even the traffic lights are adapted for cyclists. It is a model that could inspire any congested metropolis in the world. And if you live in a city with chaotic traffic, it is worth thinking, what if more people swapped their cars for bicycles or public transport? In fact, this fluid mobility helps explain why European tourism is so intense. With affordable train tickets and efficient routes, it is possible to leave Paris in the morning and have dinner in Brussels at the end of the day. Imagine how much this increases your curiosity to explore more, while spending less. And when you think of football, for example, this same structure takes crowds to the stadiums with impressive ease. If there is one subject that stirs up emotion, rivalry, and a healthy dose of madness, it is football. And when it comes to Europe, Germany goes all out. With 4 world titles under its belt, the country is a reference in tactical discipline, youth development, and sports management. And this is not limited to the pitch. The model of clubs like Bayern Munich is studied even by economists. A true lesson in how passion and strategy go hand in hand. But Germany doesn't stop there. In the field of science and innovation, it also shines. The country leads the Europeans in the number of Nobel Prizes won. From Albert Einstein to Robert Koch, the Germans have left deep marks in physics, medicine, and chemistry. Fun fact, many of these geniuses were born in small towns, reinforcing the idea that talent does not depend on the metropolis. It depends on encouragement, culture, and opportunity. And that, let's face it, is a lesson for any country. Now, do you want to know what connects an accurate shot to a goal and the discovery of a new scientific formula? The tireless search for excellence. Whether on the field or in the lab, the European spirit values continuous effort, learning, and overcoming obstacles. That's why football clubs maintain training centers that are almost as rigorous as universities. And universities, in turn, function as centers for creating a legacy. Whether you're passionate about sport, science, or both, it's worth exploring this connection between competition and knowledge. Have you ever thought about visiting the German Football Museum in Dortmund? Or the University of Heidelberg, one of the oldest and most renowned in Europe? These experiences spark a curiosity that goes beyond tourism. They touch on the desire to learn, to be inspired, and perhaps even to create something new. And the European atmosphere is so diverse that even the extremes of climate hide valuable lessons. Europe, with all its elegance and historic architecture, is also home to extremes that defy even the thermometers. In 2021, Sicily, Italy, recorded a whopping 48.8 degrees Celsius, the highest temperature ever recorded on the continent. It was as if the Mediterranean had decided to turn into an oven for a day. And the most curious thing is that this extreme heat wave did not occur in the desert, but on an island famous for its paradisiacal beaches and romantic getaways. This shows that even the most idyllic settings have their days when the weather gets out of control. On the other side of the spectrum, Russia holds the European record for cold, a staggering -58.1 degrees Celsius in Oymyakon. To give you an idea, this is cold enough to freeze the vapor from your breath in the air. In these conditions, cars have to be left running at all times to avoid freezing, and leaving the house is a mission that requires military strategy. It sounds like something out of a movie, but it is everyday life in some parts of Siberia. An interesting fact that demonstrates the adaptability of human life, even in extreme scenarios. These two climatic extremes tell us more about Europe than just heat and cold. They show how the continent is a true living laboratory of natural phenomena. From the Mediterranean to the Arctic climate, through temperate forests and dry steppes, everything coexists in a relatively small space. This is fascinating for both scientists and curious people in general, because environmental diversity influences everything, from the architecture of houses to people's moods. And if you like to observe the world with a closer look, here's a suggestion. Explore how climate shapes cultures. For example, the habit of using saunas in Nordic countries is a direct response to the intense cold. The famous Italian riposos in the afternoon are an adaptation to the Mediterranean heat. Every detail of European daily life carries with it a climate response, a legacy of survival and adaptation. And it is precisely this mix of geography, culture, and behavior that forms the fascinating mosaic of Europe. So, after so much curiosity, can you continue to see Europe in the same way? Of course not. But now the question is, what are you going to do with all this knowledge? Are you going to keep it just to share in a bar conversation? Or are you going to use it to open new horizons, question the obvious, and become that person who sees what no one else sees? The world is full of people repeating what everyone else already knows. But those who stand out are those who seek to understand the hidden connections between culture, climate, behavior, and history. Have you ever stopped to think about how much all of this influences your life too, even if you are miles away? What does Europe teach you about your own country? About your choices? The provocation here is simple. How long are you going to consume superficial information while you could be expanding your mind with facts that spark curiosity and change your way of thinking? What if I told you that there is much more where that came from? Because the truth is that the more you discover, the more you realize that there is still an entire universe of discoveries waiting for you. So, if this content made you think differently, don't keep it to yourself. Like it, comment below what surprised you the most, and share it with those who need to see the world beyond what's on the surface. And of course, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because every week there are more curiosities that will blow your mind in the best way possible.